As a therapist who specializes in body image, I always get asked that one question: how do I build up my confidence? And I always do a quick practice with my clients that I'm going to do right here, right now. Think about how many times you've looked at yourself or you looked in the mirror and you were upset about a specific part of your body. Upset about your stomach, upset about your legs, upset about your butt. And then it made you feel really down and you really wanted to change it. Probably pretty often, right? Now think about how many times you've thanked your body and thanked a specific body part. Thanked your legs from getting you to point A to point B. Thanked your stomach for letting you know when you're hungry or when you're full. Thanked your body for letting you know that something's wrong and you should go to a doctor. Probably little to none, right? Research today is starting to show us that gratitude increases our happiness, increases our health, and decreases our stress. So as a therapist, I'm not going to tell you to stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself that you're perfect and you're so happy with everything on your body, because that's unrealistic and it's not going to work. What I am going to tell you to do is to think about your body, think about that one body part that you're upset with every time you look in the mirror, and then ask yourself, what has it done for you, and thank it. Mind-blowing relationship fact. Are you somebody who feels like you get into relationships with, or you are attracted to the same kind of person over and over again? It's like you have a type, but you can't figure out why. Well, many research studies show us that we are attracted to what is familiar to us, because what is familiar to us makes us feel safe and makes us feel comfortable. For example, if you are somebody that grew up in a very controlling household with very controlling parents, then it's highly likely that you will be attracted to somebody who is very controlling. Not because it's good behavior or not because it's behavior you want to have in a partner, but because your subconscious is telling you that you already know that, and it makes you feel comfortable and it makes you feel safe. So what do? We develop awareness based on our patterns. We try to look into relationships that we've been in, and we try to look into our past and find the connection between the two. So the next time you really think that you are dating some certain personality type and it's making you really mad and you don't understand why you're attracted to those kind of people, try to recognize the pattern and think back to your childhood and how you were raised.
You see this? We want this, we love this, we need this. But this, yeah, we don't need this.
5 signs of unhealed trauma. Number 1 is when you are hurting other people. You are so hurt on the inside that you unexpectedly lash out at others without even realizing it. And this wasn't who you ever were, but now you find that you're doing it a lot. The second is if you're hurting yourself. You're engaging in self-harm behaviors, addiction behaviors, or things like overworking yourself, not going to sleep, unhealthy eating habits. The next, going on addictive behaviors, is you're using different addictions or you're getting addictions to hide and mask and push further away the trauma that you experienced, whether it's drugs, alcohol, social media. The next is excessive self-blame and responsibility. When you think back to the traumatic event, you put the blame on yourself, but not only that, also in life. You excessively apologize and think that everything is your fault. And the last one is you avoid places and people that remind you of the traumatic event. Even if you loved both those places and those people, you don't want to go near them and you don't want to engage with them anymore. Quick rant from a therapist. Just because you had a roof over your head or food on the table growing up does not necessarily mean that you didn't experience trauma. Trauma looks different for everybody, and trauma is relative. You may feel guilty in your head when you think back and wonder if you had a traumatic childhood or a traumatic experience because you remember everything you were physically given. Or you may have had this conversation with your parents and they may have shut it down by telling you that they have given you everything they possibly could have. But having our basic needs met or being given physical things is not enough. We need that emotional connection and we need that emotional support. Without it, we can have a traumatic experience. And as we know, trauma could look so different. Trauma can be our parents getting divorced. Trauma can be living in a toxic household. Trauma can be witnessing abuse. Trauma can be being bullied by family members. So the next time anybody, or even yourself, tries to invalidate your feelings by telling you that you didn't experience trauma based on what you had, remember that what you are feeling is real. Trauma is not black and white, and you shouldn't feel guilty about it. Are you somebody who has a lot of anxiety, or you just worry every single day and it gets in the way of you doing things? If so, I have a bizarre but amazing trick that'll help you control your worry. It's proven. I'm a psychotherapist, and this is something I show to my clients and something I do myself. What you do is you schedule a time to worry. So you pick a time at the end of the night, let's say around 9, and you choose between 15 to 30 minutes to worry about everything that happened during the day that made you feel anxious. When these thoughts are coming during the day, you're not ignoring them, you're not pushing them away, you're recognizing them and telling them that you will see them at your appointment later. What does this show us? This shows us that as we continue to do this, we actually have the ability to control our worry. This also will show us that a lot of those thoughts that we had during the day won't show up to that appointment because we won't remember them because they weren't important to begin with. Eventually, we will begin to learn what is worth worrying about and what isn't. And eventually, we won't even need to do this anymore because the worry won't consume our whole day. Life-changing lessons my anxiety taught me as soon as I allowed it to. The first one is realizing that things may seem like a big deal right now, but they might not mean anything in the future. In the past, I was so caught up and so anxious over these little things, and it would ruin my whole day. But now I ask myself, is this gonna affect me in a week, in a month, in a year? And if the answer is no, then I'm able to calm myself down and reevaluate my values. The next one is accepting yourself for where you are. We're always so caught up on thinking about where we need to be and how much progress we still have to go, without realizing how far we've come and how proud we should be of ourselves. So staying present is a big one. The next one is realizing that anxiety gets worse when you're worried about things that you can't control. So asking yourself, is this something that's within my control? If so, controlling it, doing what you need to do. If not, calming yourself down because it's out of your control and there's nothing you can do. The next one is realizing that you don't always have to believe what you think. Feelings are not facts and sometimes our mind's tricking us. And finally, the last one, it is okay to feel scared. It is okay to feel sad. We are human. The best piece of advice that my therapist taught me that I now share with my clients as a therapist to improve any relationship. Here it is. Whatever the conversation is and whoever it is with, I want you to make sure that you are actively listening instead of just waiting for your turn to talk. So many times we get so excited that we just want to say what we have to say without even listening to that other person, especially if it's a debate or an argument and we think we're right and we just want to aggressively go in there and say our point. But that is not healthy and not what we want to do. What we want to do is engage in active listening, which is listening with the intent to understand the way the other person is feeling. This will help us develop empathy towards that person, even if we don't agree with them. Empathetic active listening is proven to help improve healthy communication and to help lead to a quicker solution. So the next time you're in a conversation with somebody, I want you to ask, am I actively listening or am I just waiting for my turn to speak? If you're just waiting, try to understand how that person's feeling. If you are somebody who struggles with overthinking or you have a lot of intrusive, unwelcome thoughts, then this trick is for you. It comes from acceptance and commitment therapy and it's called cognitive diffusion. It's a form of cognitive diffusion. And what we believe in acceptance and commitment therapy is that thoughts are thoughts, thoughts are not facts. So one simple trick is every time you have an unwelcome thought, all you do is label it as a thought. For example, if you're having the thought, I am stupid, you label it as I'm having the thought that I am stupid. Or you take it one step further and say, I am aware that I am having the thought that I am stupid. Just by being able to label it as a thought, we are giving the possibility that it might be wrong and reinforcing the idea that thoughts are not facts, they are just thoughts, and that takes the power away from the thought. So give it a try. Next time you have these unwelcome thoughts, try to label them as just thoughts. It'll help them from spiraling and it'll make you separate from them. Are you ever having a really good day, minding your own business, and then bam, a disturbing, aggressive thought comes to your mind and you don't know how it got there? It can be a thought about hurting yourself, hurting someone else, or just doing something completely out of character for you. And then you start to think, what's wrong with me? Why am I having these thoughts? Can other people read my mind? Here's the thing, these are called intrusive thoughts and almost every single person in the world has them. Our brain is programmed to keep us safe and keep us protected. So when we go into an environment, our brain is scanning the thousands of ways that we can be in danger. And usually this causes thousands of thoughts that stay below our level of consciousness. But as soon as one of those thoughts causes an emotion like fear, it comes up to the surface. Our brain doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. And that's why sometimes these thoughts are completely out of character or completely irrational for us and they just don't make sense. So here's the thing, the next time you experience that, remind yourself that it's completely normal. Everybody goes through it and it's just the one thought that made it through. It doesn't actually. You are someone with a lot of anxiety or so many intrusive thoughts, I'm a psychotherapist and I want to help you right now. In therapy, we believe that our thoughts, our feelings, and our behavior are connected. For example, I go outside, I see a cute dog, I think, wow, what a cute dog. I feel happy and excited, and I go ask to pet the dog. Now let's think of something more anxiety provoking. I'm walking down the street, I see my friend, I go to wave, they don't wave back. I think, wow, they must be mad at me. I feel sad and confused. I go lock myself in the room for the rest of the day. Eventually, this becomes a loop. I'm locking myself in the room. No one reaches out. I think everyone must hate me. I become really mad. and I send a mean email to everybody. This will eventually go over and over and over again, and I'm sure many of you can relate to that. So what do? We intercept that thought before it becomes a feeling. You think of two things that go against that bad thought you're having. Maybe my friend doesn't hate me, maybe they didn't see me, or maybe they were in a rush. By seeking out alternatives, you're showing your mind that there's different options, and eventually your mind won't go to the worst place, you'll seek everything else. Psychotherapist who gets hate comments, I thought it would be a good idea to jump on here and talk about how to deal with them because they can be really hurtful. The first thing I always want you to remember is that a hate comment has more to do with the person who sent it than the person who is receiving it. Somebody who feels really good about themselves is not going to go around putting other people down. Somebody who's really happy in their own life is not going to go around spreading negativity. So a hate comment is really a reflection of the person who sent it, and they have their own healing that they have to do. The second thing I want you to remember is that people who communicate online feel as if they're talking to a screen and not to an actual person. That's why they say things that they would never say in person, because they feel as if there's no feelings there. So what I like to do is I like to humanize the experience, reach out to that person, let them know, hey, I'm a person behind the screen and you're actually really negatively affecting me. Third thing I want you to remember is to always stay true to your values. If somebody is really being disrespectful, talking about the way you look, talking about the way you talk, and you truly believe in respecting other people, don't stoop down to their level. Don't let them change you. Also, you can block and delete them at any time. What if I told you that just one word can help with your anxiety and help you deal with stressful situations? The proven secret to this is labeling your emotions in the moment with just one word. For example, if you're feeling really anxious, I want you to come up with the word anxious, acknowledge it, and say, I'm feeling anxious out loud. Here's why. There was a study conducted in which they asked a group of people to just look at a photo of somebody who seemed really angry. They found that just by looking, it activated a part of the brain, which was the fight or flight response, because it made them feel really anxious and scared. Then they asked a group of people to look at the same photo, but instead label the emotion of the person in the photo. So people were saying, oh, he seems angry, oh, he seems mad. They found that the fight or flight was still activated, but a part of the brain was activated even more, which was the thinking, logical part of the brain, which took over. So just by labeling our feelings, we're moving from an emotional state where we react by being really overwhelmed to a logical state where we can think things through. So try it. Signs of high-functioning depression. As we know, depression doesn't always look like somebody who just wants to stay in bed all day. Sometimes somebody who is struggling with high-functioning depression is able to engage in society and perform in society, and other people might not even know that they are struggling. So here are some signs of high-functioning depression. The first is if you are able to engage or perform everyday activities like taking a shower, cleaning up around the house, going to school, going to work, but you find that it takes so much energy and so much effort. And once you do it, it leaves you absolutely exhausted to the point where people might think you're lazy, or you might even convince yourself that you're lazy. The next one is you feel really unworthy of happiness. So you're able to experience happy feelings, but as soon as they come, you remind yourself that you don't deserve it and they go away. The next is you engage in social situations when you would rather withdraw, and you feel a little down in these situations, so people believe that you are negative or a little bit cynical. And the last one is you are able to perform okay at school and okay at work, but you find it really challenging to focus on a task. Health metaphor to help you heal from your trauma. Look at this closet. It's pretty messy, but there's still some room for some things. But now I'm told that I need to fit this big sheet in this closet. I have somewhere to be. I don't have the energy to do it. I know it's going to take so much work and it's just overwhelming. So I grab the big sheet, I try to shove it in there as hard as I can, and I walk away and hope for the best. But it comes pouring out every single time. In life, we need to think about this big sheet as the traumatic memory or the traumatic event. We need to think about this closet as our mind, and these other sheets as our thoughts and our other memories. We can't focus on any of this, and we can't focus on the good because this big sheet is in the way. What do we do now? Instead of shoving everything in here, we face it head on. We take the time to pull everything out, slowly examine it and place it where it needs to be. We know that this sheet is going to take the most time and be the most painful, but we store it like our other memories, even if it takes up more space. As a psychotherapist, I am always getting that one question. How do I be happier? How do I become a happier person? And the solution to this question is a lot simpler than you would ever believe. In 2016, two incredible researchers conducted a study where they tested about 500 people. At the beginning of the study, they tested their happiness levels, and then they sent them off for 1 month to go do kind tasks for other people. Tasks like sharing an umbrella, opening a door, buying someone else's coffee. And then at the end of the study, they reevaluated their happiness levels. They found that the levels of these individuals' happiness increased and flourished through the roof. It was like they were at a whole other level. So what does this show us? This shows us that we are always trying to be happy by doing things for ourselves. We're always trying to think, what can we buy? What can we do? But the moment that we opt out from treating ourselves and start to treat other people is the moment that we actually see an increase of our happiness. Kindness makes you happy, but happiness makes you kind. It's a cycle. This might not be something you want to hear today or ever, but too much positivity can actually be bad for your mental health. It's called toxic positivity, and it's when we use positivity in an excessive amount as a way to mask everything that's going on in our life. So something's bad going on, or if we have bad thoughts, we just say, think positive, everything will be fine. That's just an unrealistic outlook on life. We need those negative experiences to learn and to grow. I know when our friends or family come to us, or when we go to ourselves, we really want to promote positivity because we think it'll make everything better. But by forcing a positive outlook on pain, we're forcing that person to stay quiet about their struggles. And that's not what we want to do. Studies are actually showing us that staying quiet about our struggles makes us more stressed in our body and our mind in the future. So what we don't want to do is say things like positive vibes only, just think happy thoughts, no negative thoughts here. Instead, we want to encourage support. Let that person know, I'm listening, you can talk to me whenever you want, what you're going through sucks. Validate those feelings. Mental health metaphor to help you understand how forgiveness can set you free of so much pain. Imagine somebody that did something wrong to you is wearing a pair of gloves and passes you over this burning hot piece of coal in your bare hands. You accept it because you don't know how hot it is, but then you realize that it's burning and it's going to leave a scar, so you drop it right away. Dropping it doesn't mean that you're going to forget what that person did, and you likely learned your lesson that you're not going to accept this piece of coal from them ever again. Dropping it just means that you're not going to hold it in your hand to hurt you more than it already has. You're going to release yourself from that pain. In life, I want you to think of the wrong thing somebody did to you exactly like this piece of coal. As soon as you realize that it's hurting you, you have two options. One, you can hold it there and let it hurt you even more, or two, you can release it and stop the pain before it gets worse. I know so many times we want to just hold up this piece of coal and say to somebody, look at the pain you caused me, look what you're doing. But at the end of the day, the piece of coal is in your hands. You get to decide what you do with it. Therapist here with another trick to help with your anxiety. This has worked wonders for me and my anxiety in the past. All you have to do is convert your anxious or negative thinking into third person. Sounds weird, but it's very straightforward. So when you're in an anxious situation, you might say things like, I'm so awkward, everybody must hate me. And that's just the way our mind works, but those are first person statements, I and me. What you want to do is you want to convert those to third person. Everybody hates Nadia. Nadia is so awkward. In psychology, we call this distancing, and as distancing happens, it allows us to reflect on ourselves and on certain situations in a less emotional way because we're taking more of an observer role. It's like if we see someone else going through something, there's less emotional there because we're not as attached to it. There was a study done in which they asked one group of people to say I statements with their anxiety, so I feel this way, and another group of people to use their names or use their pronouns. They found that people using their pronouns didn't have as much activity in the part of the brain with emotional pain and stress. So I hold the record of being the female in my high school who was suspended for the longest. In grade 11, I was suspended for 3 weeks for doing something pretty bad. And I know it's nothing to be proud of, but it brought me to one of my life's biggest lessons. After those 3 weeks, I would freak out at home because I already had anxiety and now I thought everybody was going to judge me. I went to a Catholic high school in a small community, so the teachers, the principals, and even the students were going to judge me, and I knew that. And I was freaking out at home, and one day my mom saw me and she came in and said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "When I go back to school, everyone's going to judge." And in that moment, she said 2 words that changed my life, and she didn't even know. All she said was, "So what?" It changed my perspective because I realized that I was so caught up in freaking out about people judging me that I didn't even ask if and why I cared, and I didn't. So when I went back into those hallways and I saw the grade 11 teacher judging me and I heard those girls in the back of the class whispering about me, I thought, so what? That's their business, not mine. The difference between being shy and being socially anxious. This is something I struggled with knowing the difference between for a long time, so I wanted to share with you. The first, I'll give an example. Let's say you have a social event coming up. If you are shy, you might be feeling scared, you might be feeling really uncomfortable, but deep down you have a desire to go to this social event. Deep down you want to see your friends and you want to see your family. If you are somebody who is socially anxious, then it's really likely that you have no desire to go to this event at all and you just want to avoid it at all cost. Going on this example, if you are shy, once you get there, you may cling on to somebody who makes you feel comfortable, but eventually you'll loosen up and open up and feel a little bit better. If you are socially anxious, then it's very likely that once you get to this social event, your behavior will just escalate and you will still want to get out of there as fast as you can. The next example, when you are shy and you have something coming up that makes you nervous, like a presentation. Once you face this presentation, those feelings of being scared or being shy go away. But if you're socially anxious, once you face this presentation, those feelings might still be there and you might still some ways to become a better partner and just build a better relationship. The first is to practice and express positivity. When you and your partner are doing something fun that you're really enjoying, express your happiness and express that pleasure that it's bringing you to your partner, and it'll just make the moment that much better. The second is give assurance. Talk to your partner about the future, talk about what you're excited to do with them, and let them know how much they mean to you, just to make them feel comfortable in that relationship. The third is self-disclosing. So whenever you have an emotion, whenever you feel a feeling, whether it's a happy feeling or a mad feeling, disclose it to your partner, let them know and encourage them to do the same. The fourth, going on that, is openness. If you feel like you're missing something in the relationship or you need something, be open about it and talk about it with your partner. Don't just expect them to do it or hold a grudge when they don't, because they can never just guess everything that's going on in your mind, and encourage them to be open with you as well. And the last one is sharing tasks. So share the responsibility so that you don't start to hold grudges or really get upset with each other, whether it's planning a date night or doing things around the house. Share that responsibility.